allegiance. To the Pledge of Allegiance. Yesterday was the 80-something anniversary of D-Day. 79. Okay. I have a very good friend who, on one of the significant anniversaries, was a ranger and paratrooped in, like the 1st Cavalry 101st Division did, and got to meet President Obama. And a few years later, he hit an IED in Afghanistan on his 11th tour. Has traumatic brain injury, but he hasn't given up. But he is just one compared to all of those soldiers, many of them teenagers, right out of high school, that invaded that area of France and then on into Germany to give us our freedoms for the day. So that's, we honor those when we say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Jerry,
To me.
She jumped in and celebrated the 17th birthday.
17. Oh. Ladies, can you imagine paratrooping into a war zone at your age and saying, "Oh my goodness"? So, please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Well, we have a full plate today, so we're going to dispense with some of our usual holidays. So, Tom, our Sergeant at Arms, is going to introduce our guest, and we'll get right started into the kind of a myriad of programs.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome, everybody.
Like I said, first, like to welcome Mayor Jay Briggs. Glad you're here to join us today. Well, we're here. Ready?
Andrea is not.
Okay. Anyway, thanks for all being here today. It's been a great meeting. So I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you very much. The program, our official program today is we're here. Harry Briggs from Bridgeton, so the city of Bridgeton, so thank you. We do have some scholarship winners we would like to acknowledge. We know that Kyle received an acknowledgement from Bob on last Wednesday, was it Wednesday? Oh, yes, May 31st at the Rittner Senior Award Ceremony. The Pattonville students are here for the first time in the history of the Spirit of St. Louis Rotary Club. Of course, we've only officially been in existence for about 2 years, but we have a long history in Overland. Now that we've moved our meeting space and changed our name, we've now branched out to helping students in the Pattonville district. So thank you. And you two are the inaugural recipients of the Pattonville section of the Spirit of St. Louis County. So we will have a little recognition of you guys in just a moment. But Noel, you wanted to talk just briefly to us, or will you talk? First of all, wanted with maybe we would give you some time. So if you'd like to talk to us,
just quickly, Noel is the perennial scholarship winner. She was the first one, and maybe the only one that we had the opportunity to award scholarship to a student at Central Methodist University with Courtney's help. So we're supporting her for all 4 years of her college career. She's just finished her sophomore year, so you can just briefly tell us what your major in.
Okay. Well, it's nice to meet you. And we'll see you all again. If you were here last time. It's been a while. My name's Noel Riley, of course. I'm in the biomedical science major. That was a more recent decision, but it's been a lot of fun, and I love CMU, so I'm glad I got the opportunity to go there. So thank you all.
Very
Very good. Right. And then our two, what actually Kyle is our Ted Matkin Scholarship winner. And did you, Bob, did you tell a little bit about Ted, the night of the award ceremony? Yeah. Okay, so Kyle's aware of the Ted. Yes, Ted Matkin, a long time. Rotary Club and passed away, was a Methodist minister and left somewhat of a trust fund to give scholarships to some Ringer students and to some Parkway North students. So Kyle is one of the recipients. Andrea couldn't make it. She texted me. Andrea. We almost did. Yes, we did. And she did tell me that when I talked to her on the phone. She couldn't make it. She had car trouble. She just texted me right as I was pulling in. So, Kyle, you want to tell us a little bit of something about yourself?
I'm Kyle. I'm from Ringer High School. I will be attending St. Louis University in the fall to major in education.
Okay, excellent. And for the members, I just want to break on Kyle. He came to our scholarship interview, suit and tie, which was very cool. And what I understand from several of the sources I have at the high school, and Kyle remembered me from, he was a freshman my last year at Ritter. He usually dresses very nicely, and he had a wonderful, are you looking up the photo from the awards ceremony? Sharp outfit, so, and he's got a lot of experience, has his own company, so a deserving young man.
So I'm just curious about where it's should go.
Oh.
He's on.
That's right.
It's summer vacation, give him a break.
He played Rotary Camp. Danielle. Danielle. Danielle, you put on the spot that you put in, but tell us a little bit about you, future award scholarship winner.
No, I graduated from Ritter High School. I used to work in business services. I did the breakfast. I don't think it was the past year. All about that home veteran business, which is downtown and it's more than you guys should definitely go and check out. Oh, and I'm going to the University of Physics this year for journalism with my understanding.
Excellent. So we have some excellent students, which we can help with something that we, since 1947. Well, I think the first scholarship was in the 70s, but we've been able to help a lot of students go to school. So that's very nice. We have two Pattonville recipients. So we have some tickets for you all. And if you students can stick around and after the meeting, we want to take a picture of all of you. And because I'm president, I have to ruin the photo and be in it as well. So, but anyway, Sasha Grant, come up please. Sasha is from Pattonville High School, and she is a recipient of a $1,000 scholarship. So congratulations. Sarah, is it the German pronunciation of your last name or American? Eber. Okay. Sarah Eber is from Pattonville, and ladies, if you would round of applause. Tell us a little bit of something about your future.
Oh, I can go first. I'm Sasha. I'm Pattonville, and I'm going to award it in the chemistry major, but I'm going to pharmaceutical become a pharmacist.
I'm Sarah. I'm going to Washington University here in St. Louis, and I'm going to major in philosophy, neuroscience, and psychology.
It would be a shame when I wanted to be a music teacher. One of the things I do want to, at the end of the meeting, we're going to say this, but the Rotarians have a code of ethics, and it's called the four-way test. And it's just, I'm going to give you a little commemorative point here, the four-way test. I usually keep one in my pocket It keeps going through the wash. And, it's just a good way to make decisions. One of the things that, all of the principals at the high school were, comes through with the first meeting. What's your thoughts? And it's the following test. Rotary. Is it the truth? The things we think to do is it the truth? Is it very well concerned that it is goodwill and kind of friendship? Will it be beneficial while concerned? Long history, Google it if you can't see something and just read about it. It's very, very interesting. But those four things, if you can answer yet, those are, you know, I think before I think that'd be something that keep you going through life very well. So, I'll leave the round of applause. All right, thank you, thanks. And again, yes. Oh, yes, absolutely.
That the achievement of saying it to me. That I didn't think I was going to graduate with. The years that I've known him, it's lovely. Very lovely. So, that's the reason why I have a family.
While I was presenting the certificates, we were kind of off stage. He was getting bored, so he couldn't go back to the seat. You know, this is that's my sister. But she got
Yeah.
You've done a good job, sir.
And I will say the same thing about your daughter. I still have many contacts in the high school, but everyone, when they found out they got the scholarships, they were just on my Facebook. Good job, good job, good job. So, Kyla also received, well, she didn't apply for the Rotary scholarship, but she did receive several others. So, our program today is Mayor Kevin Briggs of the city of Bridgeton. So, Mr. Mayor, if you'd like to come up and give us a little talk on whatever you wish.
So good morning, everybody. I have the pleasure of serving as mayor of the city of Bridgeton, just to the north of us here a little bit. On a side note, though, I am also a Richmond graduate. So I cover both ends too. My children, though, are all Patton Hill graduates. No, I don't know. Stuff like that. So I cover both things. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the city of Bridgeton. I think it's a little bit of an unknown gem here in northwest St. Louis County. One of the things we always struggle with in this area of the county is, are we North County or West County? What part of the county are we? So I try to always say, well, I'm Northwest County. Maryland Heights likes to say I'm West County, along with Chesterfield and Town and Country and things like that. I guess there's a little bit of prestige with that. I don't know. But, you know, there's also nice things going in North County as well. As mentioned, I graduated out of Bridgeton. I grew up in St. John, right across the street from Bridgeton High School. The city of Bridgeton is a longtime city. It's first incorporated and platted back in 1790. That's how far back it goes. So it gradually grew and grew, and a lot of people don't, and I'm not going to make this a historical thing, so don't snooze on me here. But it was the original road to St. Charles. You remember St. Charles was the first Missouri capital in 1821. So old St. Charles Road, which I live off of, was the original route. If you make it to St. Charles, they would usually stop over in from the city of St. Louis. They would usually stop in Bridgeton at a halfway house, a boarding house, or a hotel, we call it now. And that's where they would stay. Roughly, if you know where Brandon's Hardware is, that's roughly in the area where they would stay. And then the next day they would travel on to St. Charles. Eventually, we grew and grew. We aren't what I would call a destination type city. You know, a lot of destination cities are places like on the coast where they have beaches or out in the mountains or things like that, or even in Maryland Heights, because whether you like them or not, casinos attract a lot of people. Bridgeton doesn't attract people toward a vacation or anything. Probably our biggest attraction that a lot of people come to is our municipal athletic field, which is out off of Tassay Road, out what I call the floodway by the Missouri River. The reason I mention that, we have 11 fields out there, baseball and softball. We attract tournaments from throughout the Midwest. This is our busy time of the year. So a lot of people come into this area. A lot of people stay over here in Maryland Heights. They stay over in St. Charles. One of the things we're working on. But we have tournaments that go from Little League all the way up to Sunday Pro out there. So that's one of the things that does attract people. The other is jobs. You know, we have a real high daytime population in the city of Bridgeton. The current population of people that live there is about 11,500. At one time, it was all the way up to 27,000. And I'll get into that in a minute. But our daytime population increases by at least 20,000. There's that many people that come into work in the city of Bridgeton. And when you think about it, some of the businesses people don't think about. Hunter Engineering is based in the city of Bridgeton. Hunter Engineering is a worldwide company in the area of hydraulics or mechanical lifts, like automobiles. They've expanded that out. They also do like wheel alignments, things like that. But they're worldwide. Their headquarters is right in the city of Bridgeton, right there along Highway 70. As you're headed into the airport, Hunter Engineering is off on the left side of the north side of the highway, as I said. Hussman Refrigeration. Hussman Refrigeration is the single largest provider of refrigeration units in the commercial industry. When you go into a Schnucks or a Deerbergs or all these, I'm trying to cover them all that I got in the city of Bridgeton or Target, and you see those refrigeration units in there, 9 times out of 10, Hussman Refrigeration built those. They have a huge complex there at Tassay and St. Charles Rockwell. They're a division of Panasonic. They bought them out of the Japanese company. Verbach. Verbach is across the street from us. Verbach is an internationally known company in terms of animal science health, veterinary medicines. The Paula Health Center. Paula Health Center is the largest employer in the city of Bridgeton. 2,600 people work there. You know, not every community can have a hospital there. We're fortunate. For those that have been around for a while, DePaul Hospital used to be downtown.
That's right.
Was it? They moved out. And we were fortunate that they moved out to what is considered the busiest intersection in the state of Missouri, which is I-70 and I-270. So that's a key component for the city of Bridgeton. We have that. We have Highway 370. We have the Rock Road, Lindbergh. We are what they call a logistics center because of our location. We also have the airport as well. Those are some of the things that attract businesses into the city of Bridgeton. And with businesses comes a lot of jobs. Unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot of residential left to develop in the city of Bridgeton. You know, we just finished in the last 3 years, I've been there for 8, I'm in my 3rd term now, 2 new subdivisions of about 32 and 24 homes along BB Road. But it's all what they call infill. We don't have vast areas like maybe what Bridgeton was around in 1970s or 80s, where you have a farmer decides to sell his field. You know, and you've had 80 to 120 houses being built. We don't have that kind of space anymore. Can't build out in the floodplain, obviously, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So what we're limited to is infill. Take lots where you have maybe 1 to 5 acres and maybe convert those into a subdivision. Sometimes people like it, sometimes they don't. We have a street called Smiley Road. Brian, maybe you're familiar with it. The lots on Smiley Road run from 1.5 to 5.5 acres. But the people like it. They call themselves the Ladue Bridgeton because of the big lot that run through there. You know, there's horses that people board on that. find all kinds of things along the Smile. One of the other things that we have, and I'll get into a few other quick issues that are pertinent to current, is we're like the fast food heaven of Northwest St. Louis County. You can travel up and down the Rock Road and find virtually every single fast food restaurant there is, with one exception, McDonald's. McDonald's does not have a facility in the city of Bridgeton. They used to, but it was just off the Rock Road on Natural Bridge, right there at the corner of Natural Bridge and the Rock Road. But the individual didn't like that location. He wanted to get up on the Rock Road, and corporate said it's too expensive for us. We can't do that right now. But Chick-fil-A is killing it there. A lot of people, because we were one of the first ones up in North St. Louis County or Northwest County to have a Chick-fil-A. Wendy's, Freddy's, Starbucks, Poet Panda Express, those are all in the city of Bridgeton. Our corporate limits, and I should have started that way, go all the way from Cypress Road to the east, cuts down to the Rock Road, comes down it, goes all the way to the river. We do not have our city. That's unincorporated St. Louis County. We run roughly along the Rock Road. We go all the way up north to the rail line. So if you travel Leesburg north and you pass through Missouri Bottom Road, that's roughly our northern boundary. I mentioned that the other thing that we have a lot of is hotels. Some of them are very nice and some of them aren't. We have the Crown Plaza, we have Embassy Suites, Springfield States, or Springfield Suites they call it, Courtyard by Marriott. But then we have a few of them that we're trying to, and how do I put this nicely, modify, get them to change. Because we, like a lot of other cities, have problems and people coming in. If you can buy a room for $40 a night, you're going to get that clientele. And that's not really what you want to see happen. They are a problem for us in terms of our police. They are problems in terms of the other businesses nearby, littering, stuff like that. The homeless. We had at the time, St. Patrick's Center was sending people out to Bridgeton that were homeless. Okay, I can sympathize with homeless, but then they were just letting them, dropping them off at a hotel that's less than one of our stellar establishments there off of 270 on the other side. It used to be a Holiday Inn. It's called a lodge now. They charge $40 a night, and they were just basically what I consider dumping people. Well, that's not resolving the problem of the homeless either. All that's doing is multiplying it out in the area. So we had to call them and tell them you're not going to help us do that. We can't continue that pace. That's wrong. I spoke about the airport a little bit. The airport right now, been around the area, that the airport back in the 90s and 80s, goes back to the 90s and early 2000s, purchased about a third of the city of Bridgeton. And by purchase, some of them were voluntary and some of them were mandated by condemnation. So we lost some of our prime residential, we lost about a third of our population. It's where the new runway goes. And a lot of people still have very bitter memories about the airport in the city of Bridgeton. I did live in the city at that time. It used to be I could cut across what was now the runway and go play golf at Berry Hill, which is the city's municipal golf course. Can't do that. We are now working with the airport though, because they, whether we like it or not, are an economic driver in the city. That's why we have those hotels, Embassy Suites. That's why we have certain businesses that come in. A lot of people, if you drive on the Rock Road or you drive along the river, there's two auto dealers in there, Schmidt, and then It's Alive. These people specialize in foreign sports cars, are very high-end cars, Rolls Royce, things like that are antiques or specialty. They get people flying in from all over the world, and they located in Bridgeton because of its proximity to the airport. They come in and they tell me, the owners do, people come in for about 2 or 3 hours, test drive the vehicle, buy it or not, and then say, I'm headed back home, and then take back off down the airport. That's why they located there. But the airport is currently looking at an expansion plan. If you haven't heard about it, they're going to move everything up to one terminal. They're going to get rid of the east terminal where Southwest Airlines is. So everything shifts to the west. What comes shifting west means it's coming toward Bridgeton. They're going to reconfigure Highway 7. So that they'll have where you get on right now at the airport, the exit right there by the Marriott will not be an exit for the airport. They are looking to start a long kind of flyover ramp at Cypress Road to take everybody into the airport that way. That are coming from the west, from the east, it's over there by the Renaissance Hotel, the big black ramp marble. Well, we have an impact on that. Cypress Road is in the city of Bridgeton. And then to the west, they're gonna come out the same way, all the way to Cypress Road. They're doing it because if you haven't been there lately, there's a lot of congestion at the airport with traffic. It's not the airlines, it's traffic. The other thing they're looking to do, that doesn't affect Oakland or Bridgeton that much, they're gonna redo all of the rental car area. Right now, you have to go across I-70 to get to the rental cars. I think they're looking at bringing everything closer in. One of the things I get a lot of questions on is the landfill in Bridgeton. So back in the late 70s, we were talking about World War II. Back in World War II, Mallinckrodt Chemical was commissioned by the U.S. government to help enrich uranium. Uranium was used in the first bombs that were dropped on, or the atomic bombs, excuse me, that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Once they were done with that, and the war was over, Mallinckrodt had this facility downtown, and they said, what are we going to do with this? They tore it down. Material came out, originally it was stored over by the airport along Coldwater Creek. Well, somebody finally realized the creek gets up too much, and it carries that material downstream toward the Missouri River. Everything goes north on Coldwater Creek. So then somebody said, well, let's move it then. They moved it over to the landfill in Bridgeton. It's not the Bridgeton landfill, it's called the Westlake landfill. There's two landfills there. One was sanitary, one was construction debris and material, Westlake. So the material was brought over in the 70s and buried in trucks. I had a guy who actually worked on the project. He said his last day of work, they told him, drive into the hole. So we did, parked his truck, a dump truck. And they said, leave the keys in it. We did, walked out and said they started excavating, just pushed the dirt over. They didn't put it in any kind of containers. Nothing. So it was contaminated soil. And for years it stayed that way. Some people maintained that it was okay because it was buried so deep. We're talking about 60 foot down or so. Other places it wasn't as deep. So the radiation started coming up. What brought it to a head recently was a fire in the sanitary landfill, which was called Bridgeton landfill. You know, the material underneath there caught on fire. They don't like to call it a fire. They call it an underground combustible event. But it basically was a fire. And it started consuming all the material that was put in it. So what used to be a mountain this high shrunk down. Well, when the fire broke out, there were a lot of people worried because what happens if fire hits that contaminated dirt? Will there be an explosion? No, there won't. It does, however, release some type of materials into the atmosphere. It also causes some problems in terms of the groundwater. So 3 entities are now looking at a remediation program to clean up the landfill. The federal government is one of them. The Department of Energy is tasked with having this process. The Republic is the owner of it. Exelon. Exelon is the company that's hired to truck the material over to the land. It's probably a $700 million cost to fix it. Take about 5 years. The federal government, through EPA, has declared it a Superfund site. Ever since I've been there, I've been talking about it. You know, they keep winding it down. Now they're going to extract only the heaviest material in terms of radiation. So they went in and found the spots where the radiation is the highest, and they'll excavate there rather than just clear off everything in that land. Once they get the dirt removed, they'll take it out west or up into Michigan, into uninhabited areas, they call it. And they have facilities there that will properly take care of things like that. A couple other things real quick, and then I'll open it up for questions. Crime is one of our big issues as well. You know, as I mentioned, we're at a location where you have a lot of interstate highways coming together. So we have a lot of transients that come through. Transients sometimes cause problems for us. But one of the things we've been working on together with St. Charles County lately and Maryland Heights here is the problem we have with vehicle theft or tampering. Right now, what we're seeing is, and it's somewhat subsided, but I see on the paper today, it's starting to creep back up. We have a lot of juveniles that are recruited by known criminal groups to go out and steal cars. They go out to St. Charles, they bring them back in. Their primary route is Highway 7. And the reason they're juveniles is because some of the code of juvenile codes, the laws, are less stringent on them than they would if it was an adult with not a stolen car. So they recruit these gangs of juveniles to go out there, steal the vehicles, come back in, and then they drive them over to a chop shop, take care of it that way. Well, we, working with the city of St. Charles, the county of St. Charles, Maryland Heights, Florida, have started what they call saturation patrol. So about once to twice a month, we will coordinate our activities with St. Charles and all these other jurisdictions that I talked about. And say, okay, on this night, we're gonna go out there, and they would literally work overtime from like roughly 11 p.m. to about 4 a.m. so that they're on immediate search. And we have stopped quite a few of them. Usually what happens is St. Charles catches, they start running back our way, and our officers will put out the strips on the highway, the flattening strips. I don't want you to get concerned because these won't flatten the tire immediately. It takes about 120 to 130 yards before eventually the tire goes out. But we had people drive on the rims 65, 75, 85 miles an hour just on the metal rims to try and avoid the police. But we have started putting a dent into that traffic criminal activity. And one of the things I know Mr. Hilder mentioned about, mergers of the city and county. So, that's an issue that's very touchy to a lot of municipalities in St. Louis County. Because we've been around for a long time. As I mentioned, Bridgeton goes back to 1790. Other municipalities like the one we're in right here, Maryland Heights. I can remember when this wasn't a city. It wasn't that long ago. The reason Maryland Heights came into existence was two things. Zoning was one of them, because they felt people were not having any voice whatsoever with the county in terms of what's going in here, what's going in here. And the other was crime. They didn't feel the county police would adequately protect them. Those were the two top reasons that Maryland Heights came into existence. Well, that's some of the reasons why you still have a number of municipalities we do here in St. Louis County. I served as the president of the county municipality 2 years ago. So we had 89 municipalities when I was president. It's down to 88 now. So we do have a few mergers taking place where cities realize, and it's mostly north, east, St. Louis County, with the Normandy area, where the cities don't have the financial base in which to continue their services for people. Up in those areas as well, like the police is handled by a co-op. Co-op is generated out of St. Louis County. Other things occur like that. We see this all the time. There's talk about some other mergers taking place up in northwest or northeast St. Louis County as well. Some cities, that's their only solution to do things. They can't continue to provide the service level that the residents expect. Other cities, and we're fortunate in Bridgeton, we have a good economic base, like I told you, we can provide a good level of service. A lot of people rave about some of our services. When it snows, you go through Bridgeton, Brian can tell you, basically the streets are pretty clean in the city of Bridgeton. Trash service is not charged to residents in the city of Bridgeton. You don't have to mess around with writing a check every quarter or every month to your trash. It's already taken care of by the city. Those are some of the benefits that people like. That's why it will be a hard sell to get people to say, oh, let's merge our cities. We do a few things cooperatively, like I mentioned with crime. Here in the city of Maryland Heights, we share an animal control office. The dog catcher, if you will. And so it's worked out very well for us for the past 4 years. And we look for things, if we can cooperatively join with other cities, we will do it. But you have to realize as well, some of the residents, the first obligation that I have as the mayor is to look out after the residents of the city of Bridgeton. Just as Mayor Mulder here in Maryland Heights has to look out after the owner or the residents here in Maryland Heights. So with that, I will close because I kept it fairly sharp, and answer any questions if anybody has. Yes, ma'am.
A few months ago, we had a speaker that talked about, I think it's called the clock system.
Mhm.
Does Bridgeton have that clock system?
We have 7 cameras. The block system is mounted up on the roads. We do it on the entryways into the city. So it's like on Lindbergh, it's on Highway 70, it's on Highway 270 where you get out. The block camera system focuses in on license plates, and within 3 seconds, sends information out to a central base that says whether or not that license plate is on a stolen vehicle. Well, that tells us in 3 seconds, we can mobilize the unit. That's where some of the saturation came in. And then we can set up a patrol to try and stop that car and retrieve it. Worked out very well. Block individually, a lot of municipalities in St. Louis County have it. The city has a little bit different system. They're on the same basic thing. It's worked very well. We have it now where some of our businesses are actually putting up block cameras on their lots, parking lots. And then they send us the information. So that when we see a car come in, and I'll give you an example of where we had block that worked out very well. We had a car came in from Texas, I guess about a year ago. Block caught it and notified it was a stolen car out of the state of Texas. Highway patrol came in because the car turned off and turned into one of our less stellar hotels for the night. Well, as soon as it came in, we traced it back through, and both Bridgeton police, the highway patrol, and St. Louis County came in, and they arrested 2 individuals there. Turns out those 2 individuals were wanted for murder in the state of Texas. They're behind bars right now. So it works out very well. Yes, sir.
I've heard about the things about block. Have you heard of any communities or in Bridgeton where you're able to have residents that may have some kind of security system? Which in time, in most way, or what residents?
Yeah. Block is working now on a system for residential areas, so like a homeowners association, if they want to put them up. One of the issues with Block is the compatibility with the police. That's why it's so successful. You have to have a computer system that talk to each other. Block is just now getting to that point where they're doing it. In fact, we have Block coming in Bridgeton for a presentation to businesses at the end of this month. Because one of the reasons we encourage Block is because of its compatibility with the police departments, not just in Bridgeton, but throughout St. Louis County. I don't think though that it's compatible. So if you have something that's a non-Block system, in let's say your subdivision, I'm not sure it works. It's compatible with it. What they do in those is they record it and then send it in when there's a crime. Yeah, follow-up question.
Yeah, you said that the Block's something to do with residential business. Would that be open to non-residents?
Sure.
Can you tell the neighbors how they have, or how they get there?
I think, check on our website, but I think it's the 22nd.
Okay, I go to the website.
That's the website. They have one of our business lunches.
The last thing would be.
It's coordinated. That one is because it's a newer system. The other one that you'll hear about, the Block's working on this. There are other companies that do it, just like there's others that do with Block, is a shot recognition system. So when you hear the pop of a gun, this system will tell you here's the area where that shot took place. They use that down in the city of St. Louis a lot. Unfortunately, down there, they have a lot of situations where they have to. But that's the new one coming online as well. So that you can.
We just put 30 Block cameras.
Yeah, the work out where. Me or John there will help you out with those. Yes, sir.
Expired license tax.
Yep.
I know can I receive this? Enforcing that? Well, I know the developers, well, we contact St. John. We're gonna try to represent it. You know, you should be already in the thing on the.
Ferguson.
Yesterday. I should have been back some more active. And also have an insurance agent that I realize that if people can't afford to get their place, then probably don't have insurance.
You're probably right. One of the things we have with these expired plates is if we come up, an officer comes up upon a car with expired plates, he's supposed to turn it over and pull them over, write them the ticket. We cannot impound the car for expired plates. we turn it back over because it's lost revenue to the state, local, like county and cities. It's kind of a secondary thing at times. It's like seatbelts. If you go around and not wear your seatbelt, police will not pull you over for that. However, if you're pulled over for speeding and you aren't wearing that seatbelt, that's a secondary ticket to you. And those are called secondary offenses. I talked to our officers about it and they said they don't go around trolling, just stop these expired plates. They said there's other priorities that we have, which is true. However, they do stop, like I said, if they stop a car for it or they see one like pulling up behind them, they will pull it over and write the ticket for it. That issue should be resolved and legislature finally passed a bill to state that auto dealers themselves will issue the plates. Yeah, they'll collect the sales tax and remit it in. Problem with the state of Missouri, and the reason they haven't passed up until this time, the Department of Revenue, which is where everything comes into, these license tags as well as our own taxes. Their computer system was built in the 1980s. They don't have any, they've got one individual that knows how to write programs for it. That's it. That individual's about ready to retire. They're gonna spend $110 million for a new computer system. And they've already approved it through the budget and everything like that. The problem right now is that they're trying to piece it together because they have some supply issues. And so they're putting it together. The governor's gonna sign a bill. It passed, but it may take 6 more months before the computer system is up and running to the point that it can catch these people. But all the auto dealers are finally on board with it. The reason they didn't in the past was that computer system. Because otherwise it was handwriting everything out, putting it in the mail, sending it to the Department of Revenue, waiting for it to come back. Well, by that time, the individual that's got his car has been gone for 2 to 3 weeks, maybe sometimes 4 months. And that's been one of the problems. That's why the auto dealers, at first, they were objecting to it. The other problem was people think, oh, you just added $5,000 to the price of this car or whatever. Well, no, they didn't add it to it. That tax you have to pay. But it will be resolved. I would look for it, probably better enforcement of it will come with this and it'll be next year. This was great.
We had a burglary in and they got the license plate of credit from the car. And they found that car, license plate in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Kansas City, Wentzville, and then it's left documented somewhere in Indiana or Ohio. So I think our place should be help track all over the country.
Yeah, they change around. Whether it's a car or plate, they change around the criminals do all kinds of things like the plate itself. For those places. On different vehicles or the same vehicle.
I think it was in
But that's what we have happening at times. So those are things we're working on. Crime is still a big issue. Fortunately, we crack down on pretty heavy as they do here in Maryland Heights. We have a total of 124 full-time employees in the city of Bridgeton, and half of them are police officers. So we're at it pretty hard and heavy. Any other questions? Take this and then go to Brian. Yes, sir.
You mentioned consolidation, little cities over my area, Bridgeton, Paris.
Yep.
Are you doing the consolidations? Now on you
I'll answer the first. I'm hesitant about consolidation where you have a city like ours, where we've already established that we can handle things ourselves. We can do it. I do think there are municipalities in St. Louis County that struggle, that probably need to look at consolidating certain areas. I think my own personal belief is, and that's what this is, personal, that the city of St. Louis ought to come back into the county as just a city, just like Maryland Heights or Bridgeton. That's part of the problem with the city of St. Louis right now. Back in 1878, they divorced from the county to carve out their own city. The boundary is 62 square miles, period. That's it. They can't expand any further than that. Yeah, and I think that's one of the limitations the city has. Part of the issues that I hear out here from a lot of residents. Secondly is the debt that occurs in the city of St. Louis. And thirdly is the management of the city of St. Louis. People My residents in Bridgeton are leery about going downtown. You know, they just basically won't do it unless it's a day game for the Cardinals or something like that. And they lay some of that money on the city government down there. I don't know if it's totally their fault. I don't know the current mayor that well. I knew the previous mayors, Mayor Slade, some of the others. They struggle with that, folks. It's a big time issue. I used to work in one of the areas that was a consolidation, Metropolitan Sewer District, long ago. MSD was created because wastewater doesn't stop right at the city-county line. It keeps flowing. And so they realized back then that you need to have a regional authority that takes care of that. There are things, one of the things that I think a regional authority should do is run the airport. You know, most of the business at the airport comes out of St. Louis County or St. Charles County. There are some businesses in the city that use the airport a lot, but that's not the case. I think that ought to be, and again, I'm biased because the airport's in my city and it has had a devastating effect on it. But I think a regional authority, whether you like them or not, the bus system is a regional authority, MSD is a regional authority. Issues that cross boundary lines, jurisdictional lines, probably should be run by a central agency like that. Whether it's a government, a county government, or a city government, or it's a special entity. Metro that runs the buses and the subway, the Metro lane, that's a congressionally created district because it goes on the other side of the river in Illinois, right?
They mentioned about, putting out to a presentation to businesses and it used to be Northwest Chamber of Commerce that allowed businesses belong to that fund now. Is there any organization in Bridgeton that attracts businesses?
Northwest Chamber of Commerce does some of the work over in our area. I just attended a ribbon cutting. Lowe's is back open in the city of Bridgeton as an appliance discount area. That's all it is. You can't go buy lumber there. But they came over, they do some stuff. That's been one of the issues some council members have been pushing on us is to try and, we don't have an economic development division. You know, usually I as the city administrator myself, I would talk to people about coming into the city of Bridgeton. There isn't anything else like that, and I forgot to mention, we just have a huge new medical supplier coming into the city of Bridgeton, Bridgeton Medical. They're locating out right behind the intersection of Highway 141 and St. Charles County. Bridgeton Medical does the EpiPens. They fill the EpiPens with the medicine. See, but back to your point, no, we need to look at that as to what we can do to further promote some of the industry that comes out.
One of the things that us as a club want to do is try to attract some people from Bridgeton, since our territory now includes that area, and trying to figure out the best way to do that. Any suggestions?
Well, part of the problem we had in Hamilton City is we lost our own newspaper that was monthly. It's called the Local Act. It also covered Maryland Heights. To depend upon the Post-Dispatch, and I'm sorry, folks, we have a journalist and maybe child with it as well. Post-Dispatch is not what it used to be, obviously. And we don't have suburban journals anymore. And if I'm showing my age, folks, so just bear with me. But we don't have anything that's going to pick up the locals. Channel 2, Fox will come out occasionally, like I mentioned, groundbreaking or ribbon cutting, they'll come out and cover that occasionally. But in terms of other stuff, there is. I think one of the things that you all may want to consider doing, Brian lives in the city of Bridgeton, is attending like this luncheon we got coming up, which we're going to discuss plot, and say, hey, we have this. We have the Rotary Club that's been reestablished. It covers now this area. Because quite frankly, you called Brian, I didn't know you guys moved out this way. I remember Mr. Aylward and the Overland Rotary. Like I said, I grew up close there, but I didn't know you were out this way. The only service club that's left in the city of Bridgeton is Models. That's it. We used to have a Lions Club. We used to have several others, but they've all kind of faded. Problem we have, and I'm pleased to see these other faces, is attracting younger people to do it. You probably run into the same problem. Yes, sir.
I've got two questions.
Okay.
You talked about the project, site control. Do you know what kind of, how many years that will come?
It will take quite a while. They're talking about the whole airport expansion will probably take 10 years, so you're talking probably into the 2035, 2037.
Because I live in that area, I just saw a board go up.
Yeah,
You mentioned the local life, and I developed quite a friendship with Bill. If you would know anybody in your municipality that could set up a reasonable delivery service, I think it could be rejuvenated.
could be, that was the problem with Bill, he ran out his distributor, part of that is pay.
Right, well, it's a national problem.
Yeah, it's labor. And he couldn't find people to take it because Bill, the local light is delivered by hand to all of the residents. It was cost prohibitive to do it through the mail. Got to be too expensive. He did a good job. If you ever remember the local light, had a lot of ads in it. Bill said it was doing all right, but it was just, I can't get it delivered.
But the reason I make that point is that I thought you handled the closest batch very well. I was going to use that. It's just not what it used to be. And then when you said, well, the journals are gone, you know, this newspaper's dominate, but I think with the service that Bill's been providing, there could be an niche in this area.
Could be. Something maybe I'll talk with Bill about. The problem, like you said, is distribution. You know, right now, and even I'll use the example of my own son, he's 40. He doesn't look at newspapers anymore. He's on to, sorry, folks, phone, and they get everything off of that. One of my pet peeves, and again, I'm sorry, so I'll cut it off real quick. The social media stuff, we have like one that covers the city of Bridgeton, but they're doing it on rumors, innuendos, things like that happen. There was one just yesterday. I'll give you a prime example. There was dust because it's been so dry. They kicked up out of the Champ landfill, which is over behind Hattonville High School. The dust came up, and immediately people started flooding social media saying the dust from the Bridgeton landfill is getting out of control and it's carrying contaminants. Well, I actually had one of the groups, it's called Just Moms, who's been trying to get the EPA to do things, called me up and said, "You didn't put that out. We refuse to put that on our social media because that's not where this is coming from. This is Champ, which is an active landfill that mines limestone. Limestone creates dust. Those are part of the problems we have with social media." I thank you all very much for your time and attention. I'm pleased to see that you're back out in this area, and hopefully, like Brian has alluded to and others, you can see it grow. Thank you all very much.
We do have a couple of thank you gifts. One of our members is involved in a peaceful, and basically his business builds poles that cities and schools erect, and then the basic concept is make peace prevail on earth. And it's very various differences, and he has generously given these to us to give to our guest speakers, and your very own.
Thank you.
So we appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Just a few announcements. We'll do Happy Bucks and so everybody double up your Happy Bucks for next week. The shoes for sold. Remember, we're trying to get 20,000 pairs of shoes. I have some at home. I meant to bring them in today, but forgot them. So whenever you're at Walmart or Target or something, pair of shoes. One pair of shoes per month per Rotarian in the District 6060 will get us 20,000 pairs of shoes that we buy. So that we also have the community chess match. I made some today. I have to check here that since we are done so well with our foundation giving, every member that donates to our community chest, which goes to help local projects that pop up, we do have a member that is going to match it up to $5,000 through the end of June. So right now, do you have any idea what that? Oh, okay, $500. Okay, very good. So those are the announcements. It's 7:55. We do want to take some pictures with students, please. Back there by the banner, and Mr. Mayor, if you would do that as well. We would certainly appreciate that. food pantry last Wednesday of the month, June 28th. Picking up trash, our very first trash pickup. And yesterday, well, it was the district council meeting. Somebody said we adopted Dave's driveway for pickup trash. Because Dave lives very close. We have
McKelvey from,
basically first all the way up to the YMCA. We will do that with the June 21st. So, see, this question and another one is leading to this.
Everything fully, Sarah, why did you make it?
Okay. 381, 384.
384.
Yes, please. Oh, next week is Dave Muller's installation, and there's the incoming club president, so hopefully you can do a good job. I can go out there, be on time, and